I'm sorry.
Can you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Mike Woodard. Currently served in the North Carolina State Senate. Before that, I was on the City Council and running for mayor.
All right, thank you.
You're
South second candidate.
Everybody?
Right now, we're just introducing ourselves. So, you guys.
I just went, so you.
All right. Well, I'm Leo, Councilman Williams. Currently sit on the Durham City Council. I'm a small business owner where I just finished taking a bunch of grease out to the grease trap from my restaurant. And now I'm here with you all. And yeah.
All right, thank you for
We
being
got
here.
here early, but I was riding a scooter, so.
Thank you for being here.
Alright, so we currently have a couple of questions for you guys that they would like to ask you. So, number one,
So first we the city can build them.
Can you speak nice and loud?
Hello, Mr. Mike and Mr. Leo. My question
Ideally, the city doesn't have to build.
is, in y'all thing, y'all said y'all want to bring affordable housing. Would that mean bringing Section 8 back?
I'm sorry, what?
In y'all,
Right.
y'all said that bringing back affordable housing. Would that mean bringing Section 8 back?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, well, affordable housing is a lot of different things. So, I don't know, we both could talk about that. But, so, yeah, part of it would be for the lower income folks. So based on what's called AMI, average median income. And so there are certain criteria that either federal guidelines, local guidelines, or the council will negotiate with developers when they come. The council negotiated Monday night. Leo can tell you more about that. A certain percentage of a project for folks who are at that income level. But additionally, for me, it's also what I call workforce housing. Because average median income in Durham is about $83,000 for a family of four. Well, think about how many people actually make that. Median means half the people above it and half are below it. So what about a family of four that makes $60,000? Can they afford to live in Durham right now? They're struggling. So while there might be Section 8, they may not qualify for Section 8. They may not qualify for some of these programs. We have to find options for them. So for me, that's all the options are on the table.
So pretty much the hard part about this is Senator Woodard and I agree on a lot of these things. So good luck with determining that. The fact of the matter is, as Senator Woodard said, we have to have housing at every level. We have to have housing. I use the loaf of bread analogy, but I'll use this donut, for example, that's tempting me right now. That donut has one slice, right? A rich person cannot think twice. They can just go buy it. But a person who's not making that much money in their household, they have to think, should I buy that donut or should I buy like a loaf of bread for our family and make some sandwiches? So therefore, I utilize those types of analogies to help me allocate however government resources will be distributed. So we have to have housing at every level. We have to have housing, period. Because AMI is based on, as you said, half up, half down. But the folks that are half up are usually not really needing our support as much. But we still have to provide that resource. So therefore, we can distribute more resources where needed. And that's why you hear us talk a lot about equity, getting folks what they need, not necessarily getting everybody the same thing. So yes, to answer your question directly, yes, but that would be just one option.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank you
answering.
very much.
Ooh, the next question.
So my question was, if the local government was given more funding, how would this funding go towards improving the healthcare system and specifically making it more equitable and accessible for all minority groups in Durham?
I can go first on that one. So if we did have more, let's say, funding authority over healthcare, some of the things I would like to do, which I think we can actually still do in a sense, but making it more in the private sector and supporting it, is funding more boutique doctor offices. If you're a doctor, you have a skill set, you want to be a family doctor, you start your own practice, and you can reach a lot more people where you don't necessarily have to have people paying the arm and a leg for services, but they can pay a subscription. Do you know, have you ever heard of BU Cafe? It's on Main Street. Well, his wife did that very thing. Bull City, it's Bull City something, but she has her own healthcare practice now where she provides, I pay $45 a month and I get all these basic services. But if I have something catastrophic, then she would be my doctor to refer me. That way I don't have to pay all of that high healthcare cost. I think that's an option where we could probably explore supporting that. I did wish we had more family support authority over a lot of areas, including healthcare. But the city provides really good healthcare.
All right, thank you.
So a lot of different levels of government provide healthcare services, and so that's it's important to understand, who provides which funding. But for me, one of the big things is behavioral health or mental health, particularly in our schools. I don't think I need to tell y'all that the number of counselors per student has gone down, way down over the last decade. And so I don't know how the ratio of students is at your school to counselors, but in many schools, counselors have to go between schools even. So that would be a top priority for me. And again, to the equity question, I mean, obviously, Durham Public Schools being a majority black and brown kids, I hope that would help a lot in the schools. But yeah, behavioral health in schools is very, very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question.
So there's a limited amount of Durham schools, plumbers and electricians currently working, and a lot of them are getting underpaid. So how are you going to change the budget so that they can get paid correctly?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
There are currently a lot of schools in Durham and different sectors of work like plumbers, electricians that are currently getting underpaid. So how are you gonna change the budget so that they can get paid?
For the plumbers in the schools,
Just different areas areas of work in Durham.
How many plumbers are there? Can you explain? Can you go on? Could we elaborate more about that question? Can you handle that note?
So, to be more specific with her question, there are currently 56 Durham schools, and to be specific, in the DPS maintenance facility, there's not a lot of workers.
right?
3 plumbers and maybe 1 electrician that are currently working. How, I know that y'all are talking about budgeting, how would y'all budget them to get paid more or to get more workers?
So we don't control the school budget, so that's important first thing. So the school board, DPS, Durham Public Schools, controls the salaries there. So I don't know that the city has a role necessarily in paying more, and we don't have a role in paying more. So you have to commit, and they say, "Oh, the city's going to pay you more plumbers." No, that's a question for your school board members when you talk to them. But it gets back to me, it's a basic supply and demand thing, because, and that's where, because we're essentially in full employment now in Durham, and there's a high demand for these jobs. Government workers, generally speaking, are paid less than they would in the private sector. Now they work for, whether it's city government, county government, or the school system, for other reasons. And so what we've got to do, I think, is to increase the supply of those jobs. One of the things we're working with is with Durham Tech. They're actually going to, we were able to secure funding for a new building for them to actually have all the building trades, which is plumbing, brick masons, all those, because those are really high demand jobs right now, and they're commanded big salaries. And when folks can go out to the private sector and earn a lot more, they're going to do that. They're not going to work for the schools. So to the extent that the city can help with training programs to get them in programs like Durham Tech and others, we got to up the supply.
So, and supply is exactly where we start. I was able to get funded in the budget this very year, a citywide apprenticeship program that focuses specifically on expanding how we look at youth apprenticeship. So it starts in the trades, and it goes all the way to life sciences. You can actually have an apprenticeship at a restaurant now. So we're building that program out right now. We did get it funded, but we're going to be working with the Iron Workers Association that focuses on trades. The reason why I did that was because the average age of a plumber in North Carolina right now is well over 60 years old. And so that's literally in a matter of years, they're going to be retiring out, and we're going to experience more of a shortage than we have now. And for so long, we've been talking about, and I'm sort of guilty of this with my son, but it's like, all right, what college are you going to go to? But I can't like force that, because my brother was like, well, I don't want to go to college, I want to go to work. And so my brother ended up getting his welding license, certificate, and now he's a welder. And you know what? He went and got another certificate. Now he does underwater welding, and he makes a lot more than I do, and I own 3 restaurants. So we're expanding the options for people that have post high school work. Even if you're in the city, these jobs pay a lot of money. There are a lot of people. I'm working with electricians, painters, drywallers, plumbers right now on opening my new restaurant at Brightly Square. And
Thank you very much, sir.
So they're getting, and the good thing about it is you have more people in the workforce that can take care of their families, so that they're not struggling as much. But specifically to your question, we have no funding authority over the school system. That's the school board. However, we can contribute to the workforce development of it, and the city does have that capacity.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Let's move on to the next question.
One more thing. We want to keep it under a little bit of 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes.
Yes,
Okay, got it.
but we do appreciate your answers.
Next question.
This is kind of focused more on how do you feel about being another white man in power, and then what do you intend to do to make sure that the POC community prospers?
I'm sorry, come again?
How do you feel about being another white man in power, and what do you intend to make sure that the POC community prospers?
I was born the way I am, and so I've always, I was raised in a family that really valued community service for all people. So that's just, for me, it's never been an issue. I recognize the privilege that my race and gender has given me. I acknowledge that all the time, and have since I was even a kid. So it begins with that and understanding that. But for me, and making sure, I do things where I know I can give back. Like I tutor at C.C. Spalding Elementary School 2 mornings a week. And for the 3 or 2.5 years I've done that, I go to a 3rd grade class. My class is...
Mike, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have 2 minutes left and we want to wrap it up. So, Leo, can you say your answer?
Well, I know you asked Senator Woodard.
I'm sorry.
I gotta say, Senator Woodard has been one of our biggest proponents of diversity. Just said the state senate, and I think that's very valuable. So I commend him.
Okay, you asked your question, right? You two are next. Can you ask one of the questions that are here?
So, I don't know specifically what you guys can do about this issue, but what can you do, or what would you do to make public transportation more accessible for people who need it most and don't necessarily have easy access to it? They don't live near a bus stop. Or something like, what would you do to expand the amount of people who can use public transportation?
I'll jump on that. I'll talk fast. We've year after year we continue to keep bus fare free, so that's the equity lens. Also, more people are working from home rather than in the workplace, and I think that it's time to start reassessing how we build our transportation options. Do we have transportation ensuring that it goes to a specific building, or more so maybe our play spaces like the Museum of Life and Science? We also, for folks that have accessibility issues, we have the access. So we are addressing every need. What I'm working on right now is one of the leading representatives of transportation is ensuring that we are having more options around rail as well as bus rapid transit to connect the triangle.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Well, he's on the local transportation committee. I'm on the state transportation committee. I was on the local transportation committee. I was on the council before. So I've worked in transportation for 18 years, and he's working on it as well. So what he said.
All right.
Last question.
My question is, first of all, do you think the homeless problem in Durham is like a major concern? And since shelters are filling up, what are your resources and what are you trying to do to like help get those people somewhere?
I'll start at first, since I'm at the local level. We just funded, supported funding the additional purchase of six acres of land, as well as sustaining what we have with Housing for New Hope, and that is permanent supportive housing that provide wraparound services. Homelessness is always going to be an issue, But I don't want people to think that homelessness is an issue just because of financial concerns.
Okay,
It's also mental health
you
as
guys are
well.
having some great conversations,
Yes,
but
very
time
cool.
is up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.